Every good villain has a gimmick, but not every gimmick is good. Ben Reilly's Spider-Man once fought a demonic train, a possessed train. I love comic book writers because how did this idea even happen? I'm obsessed. The train does have a title. It is the 666 train, of course, all aboard the 666 train. Doctor Strange's death and death of Doctor Strange Spider-Man causes a lot of problems as it resulted in the magic used to keep certain magical threats captive loosening their hold, so all of these bad magical things started escaping. Not good. If you were wondering why Peter Parker wasn't handling this, it's because he was in a coma. Felicia, or Black Cat, was helping out because she didn't trust Ben that much to be a good Spider-Man, so lucky her. She also got to fight the demonic Polar Express. I think it's actually the New York City subway. The train is possessed, but it is also maybe like a portal to the underworld because there are dozens of demons coming out of it. The task was specifically to exorcise the 666 train. Ben and Black Cat succeeded by defeating all the demons coming out of it. I really hope this idea originated from someone missing their morning train one too many times. Okay, so this next villain antagonized a hero that I also can't believe exists and antagonized the villain right back. The Heckler was the hero. His powers are literally just be annoying. That's me. I don't know. I'm secretly the Heckler. The hero wasn't super popular, which means his villain's popularity is basically non-existent. They're also a little bit silly. Boss Glitter was the main antagonist of the first Heckler issue. Don't let the ridiculous name fool you. He is not a DIY king. He is a mob boss. A very dangerous mob boss with a little flair. I can't stress this enough. This villain looks ridiculous, but he is ruthless. He looks like a clown trying to impersonate Prince, but he controls the entire city with an iron fist. He uses old Mardi Gras masks to hide his face. The villain has a bunch of lieutenants that manage different parts of the city for him, and the Heckler keeps defeating them and throwing them in jail. So naturally, Boss Glitter wants the Heckler to heckle no more. When his lieutenants fail to end his comedy act, Glitter sends a bouquet of flowers with a bomb in them. The Heckler does still survive though, and we don't hear from Boss Glitter anymore. Not because something happened to him, but because something happened to the Heckler comics. They had bad sales, so it was cancelled after 6 issues. Boss Glitter does now live in my head rent-free though. His real name is Alessandro Hummer. I don't know why he chose Boss Glitter, never explained, maybe because glitter gets everywhere, I guess we'll never know. I do not personally know which Marvel writer sat down and decided to create a villain whose only power was juggling, but oh wow do I thank them for their service. Thank you Mark, thank you Elliot. Oddball is the character and he is, as stated, a juggler. That's it, that's his power. This guy doesn't have any special abilities other than really good hand-eye coordination. Oddball juggles dangerous things, so he is threatening. He juggles balls similar to like smoke grenades, and there are some with corrosive liquid inside. There are spiky edge balls. It's all very creative. There are more, but basically if you think the weapon can be made or put in a ball, he can juggle it. He was part of some bad guy teams like Death Throws. That was a team specifically made of evil jugglers. I am not lying, I promise you. And he also joined the Masters of Evil. I can't believe that there's a villain that all they have going for them is juggling. Do Mark and Elliot hate the circus? I don't know. In all fairness, the method of taking something random and creating a character has been around a long time and used not only by Marvel but also DC, like Kite Man. Who hates kites that much? Turns out this one does have some history behind it. The real name for Kite Man is Charles Brown. There was a comic strip character that often gets his kite stuck in trees and his name was Charlie Brown, so Charles may have been based off Charlie. Kite Man wasn't super popular when he first got on people's radar, but he started feeling the wind at his back when he was in Harley Quinn the animated series. The guy had a pretty big role in that series and now is getting his own show. According to the reliable source that is the internet, it looks like it's set to be released this year, so we will check back in a few months. Glad the character found his place, his niche if you will, but he is just so niche. What do you mean this grown man is just flying around with a giant kite strapped to his back? Actually, that's just the Wright brothers. Those American original aviators have quite a bit in common with Kite Man. Unique to Kite Man, of course, there are weapon kites like a trap net kite and a really, really big kite. People in the Marvel Universe have been trying to recreate the super soldier serum since it created Captain America. Not every trial goes well, well and some go unbelievably poorly. Horace Littleton attempted to recreate the serum, but he wanted to add a little something. That something was, and since I'm not sure if we can say it here, take the first letters of long, slow, down. Okay, first letters of long, slow, down. Got it? I hope so. Shockingly, this version of the super serum did not pick up steam and the guy lost his funding. This meant he was forced to test the serum on himself. He turned into Dr. Mind Bubble, a truly mind-boggling villain. He blows bubbles, evil bubbles, that trap his enemies' minds. They create a virtual reality for the person in the bubble, and it's very, very real. The person truly believes they exist there and have no idea they are in a bubble. It's also outrageous. The only way to escape the bubble is if you decided to put an end to your existence in the bubble realm, then you can wake back up in actual reality. Dr. Mind Bubble was defeated by Captain America when Cap bent the Mind Bubble tube in his head with his shield. That meant all the bubbles were forced to stay in Mind Bubble's head, and that made the guy go crazier than he already was. He then launched his own mind, body, and soul out of a window. DC creates some truly unhinged villain designs. This time, it's an unborn baby that has super intelligence that lives its life suspended in the top portion of an advanced robotic suit. Catch all that? Orphan is the baby's villain name. Technically it's Orphan III or Orphan III maybe. Orphan was going to be just regular baby, like born instead of permanently suspended in a villain suit, but his parents were scientists in the DC universe and that never goes well for anyone. The scientists were studying this thing called the source wall. The wall was breached and his parents were eliminated. Luckily for Orphan, they had a techno-familiar named Darling that saved Orphan's life, and receiving all the energy caused him to have above average intellect for an unborn baby. Thank goodness, we barely want Orphan running around as is. Imagine if he actually had the intelligence of a baby the entire time. Paste Pot Pete was so goofy, the character reinvented himself. He came to the decision with the help of Spider-Man when Spidey laughed at him. Was it a nice thing for Spider-Man to do? Maybe not, but when you decide to become a villain, sorry, but I think people don't need to be as nice to you. He turned to crime because he thought it would make him more money, which at least turned to crime for the right reason, you know? Because you want to be a menace to society. Anyway, the guy was already making a lot of money. He created, like, the Gorilla Glue of the Marvel Universe, very sticky. His glue is what he uses to create crime, and he literally carries it around in a bucket with his glue gun in hand, connected to the bucket using a tube. It's all very technical, but I don't know, there has to be a better way. You know, dude, you're rich, get a backpack. The glue is a force to be reckoned with, backpack or not. The paste dries instantly and can stick to almost anywhere. The only thing that can affect the glue is ultraviolet light. Eventually, Pete upgraded to a system that didn't involve him carrying a bucket around, but as said at the beginning of this point, the villain reinvented himself with the unwanted help of Spider-Man. Spider-Man is known for his little quips and roasts. When Spidey met Paste Pot Pete, he laughed a little too hard, and the villain had had enough and decided to become Trapster. He thought it sounded more menacing. I don't know if I necessarily agree, it kinda sounds like a board game to me, but y'all let me know what you think in the comments. Let's revisit a favorite villain of mine, Calendar Man. Every iteration of this character is fabulous, you can't deny that, I will not let you. His first, middle, and last names are all calendar adjacent. His name is Julian Gregory Day. Julian themes his crimes and his criminal outfits to different holidays. So for example, this past weekend we probably would have had an evil Easter bunny roaming the streets hiding little evil eggs. The first version of Calendar Man was probably meant to be a ridiculous sort of joke villain, but DC is in the rewriting era and gave this guy a bit more depth and also totally changed his look. I prefer the old one that was looking camp right in the eye, but I guess the man with the calendar tattooed around his head is also fine. Calendar Man does not have any superpowers, I guess, but he is very good at inventing. He always has a new gadget to perfectly match the holiday or event he is emulating. He also, before they backstoried him, he always had new outfits. This man's closet must be a department store, honestly. Probably the most outrageous version of the character, if everything previously stated wasn't enough, was a version of him from the Tom King run of Batman. That guy was a metahuman that would be reborn once a year when he shed his skin, so he was almost like a lizard. DC has had some controversial characters over the years. This villain is yet another fun little example. I was so excited when I found him because he's from Colombia and I'm from Colombia, and I was like, that's so so cool. I really hope he's a well-rounded and interesting villain with no racially insensitive characteristics at all. His name is Snowflame, and he is a cartel leader that creates the white powder that shares a name with Coca-Cola. Yeah. In order to have powers, Snowflame must use the other method of ingesting the substance, the nose. Once that happens, he is super strong, speedy, can't feel pain, and if you touch him, he is coated in the snow, so you will also be affected by the substance. He also has fire powers because you'll need that when it comes to the snow. The character is not widely loved for obvious reasons, but there is one person out there that is single-handedly keeping this character afloat. There is a fan-made webcomic out there that gives the character backstory and even puts him up against various DC heroes. This person just really loves Snowflame. The character has made a few reappearances and died 3 times. The first time was his first appearance against the New Guardians. He was in a shed that blew up. The second was a rebooted version of the character that met his end to a giant jaguar. And the third and current final time, instead of snorting his usual power-inducing stuff, he snorted a poison frog. Everything I just said only makes sense here. I literally can't say this anywhere else. I'll sound bonkers. Anyways, Snowflame, ew, hate him. Dr. Forklift has only been seen once, and that was enough. I am flabbergasted with this one, for real. So he was originally a regular guy, and his job was performer. He was the Great Golly Gosh Show and his trained hamsters, and they were a traveling act. They were performing at a chemical plant, and one of the hamsters got stage fright and somehow was strong enough to knock over a big spotlight that fell and hit Dr. Forklift, and a bunch of chemicals got spilled in the process, and there was a forklift nearby. A big explosion happened, and when the guy woke up, his bottom half was gone and replaced with the forklift. This sounds like I'm making it up, but I swear this is real. Dr. Forklift also became a genius because he happened to also be beside scientific papers when the chemical explosion thing happened. In the single issue he was in, the doctor was swapping humans' minds with hamsters so he could have an army and only hamsters would listen to him. Plus, the doctor needs endless electricity to survive, so he keeps the hamsters running on a wheel that generates electricity. Plastic Man ends up thwarting the villain after a battle between all the humans in hamsters' bodies and all the hamsters in humans' bodies, and Plastic Man is Dr. Forklift. Dr. Forklift gets arrested, all the hamsters and humans are given their rightful brains back, so a happy ending overall. But reading this comic was a fever dream. It's Plastic Man Volume 2, Issue 11, if you want a good laugh. Thanks so much for sticking around. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and make your mark on the comment section down below. Let me know your favorite villain. This is Juliana, signing off. Bye!